than a lot of the other healthcare practitioners. I think I'm not only the only independent optometrist in Genesee County, I'm one of the few independent healthcare providers in Genesee County, because most of the hospitals have kind of brought together all the providers under a corporate umbrella. So that's a challenge too, if you really want to look at independence. One thing that I've done is I've joined Vision Source, which has been a unique model to help promote independent optometry. And that's something that I think evolved out of the need to protect the independence. And so there are other tools out there to help you become independent or stay independent as well. So that's one of the challenges. I think that hopefully that'll trigger some questions after lunch as well. And I know there's some other independents up here that are going to address that also. One of the reasons they asked us to be on the panels, as Fran said, because we're happy. I think we all have made decisions that we're comfortable with, and that was one of the main reasons why they asked us to stand up here and hopefully give you some insight as to some of the decisions you're going to have to make in the near future. I also got quite involved in the state association. I'm past president of the association, which was an excellent opportunity and challenge and a great experience. And what it did was, it ultimately had a lot to do with helping my practice. Selfishly, you don't get paid anything to be a member of the association or to be active in the association, but it brings such a wealth of knowledge to you as a practitioner that it really helps you make good decisions in your practice. And so from a selfish standpoint, get involved in the association because it does good things as you practice. I know people don't see it that aren't involved, but I can honestly say I think the comments from my colleagues in the association would back me up on that. So there is a selfish reason to get involved in professional optometry as well. And one last plug before I leave is I am now the legislative chair of the association. We are fighting hard in New York to get oral legislation. And our lobby day is on April 21st. And the students are such a key part of that lobby day. So it's important that all you students come to Albany on the 21st because the legislators really get good feedback from the students and how important it is that, you know, as New York students, you want to stay in New York because the legislation and the atmosphere in New York is conducive for you to practice at your fullest capacity, and that's very critical as well. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to, who's next? Ida? Thank you.
Welcome everyone. I'm glad all of you are here today. As you can see, I'm at the optometry school at SUNY. I'm a full-time faculty member there, and I'm the chief of the pediatric service as well as the associate professor. My story started in terms of I've always wanted to teach, and I've always wanted to teach children. So I think being a pediatric optometrist has allowed me to not only practice optometry, but to share my passion to working with children. So it's been a nice match for me. Certainly my optometry degree was from SUNY in 1993, and upon graduation, took off 2 weeks and started my residency program at PCO. The residency at PCO is in pediatrics, but it's also binocular vision. And then from there, before graduating, I was actually recruited because the State University of New York started a pediatric service separate from the vision therapy service at that time, and they were in need of faculty members, and they came, recruited me, showed me my schedule, what it actually would look like, and I decided to stay in New York, although I had plans to go to California at that time. So I would say the choices you make today will impact where you end up in the future. But I would say that in terms of optometry and being in an academic environment, I would really say that we practice in a multidisciplinary, like a very large multidisciplinary practice, because not only do we have probably over 120 optometrists at the college that are my colleagues. We certainly have our consultants, ophthalmologists, we have our consultants who are psychologists on staff, neurologists, and we have all the subspecialties. So I feel that we don't even have to refer to people down the block, we actually refer to people within the building. So it's a very nice style of practice because I get to see my patients and the ones I refer to. In fact, I can go and visit them on the separate floors when they come in and speak to the consultants that I refer to. So it's very nice. The other thing I would say about working in academia is really like a big practice, because on day one when I started seeing patients in the clinic, actually I had an entire department for patient accounts. There's an entire department of managed care there. You have a chief operating officer, you have an executive director of the clinics that do all the marketing and bring in the patients for you. So unlike starting a practice where you may not have even the means to hire all these individuals, I started practicing at the college, and all these individuals and departments are already available to me. That's in addition to all the staff for the pediatric service and the clinic manager, as well as the entire call center that takes all the calls and answers people's questions. In my role as chief of the pediatric service is very interesting because not only am I providing care to this population, but also I'm creating what I think is the best education for the students who are going to practice when they graduate. So I'm responsible for the student education in terms of the interns. We have an externship program in pediatrics and vision therapy, and I also get to work with the residents. So we're working on the different levels, and that's been very rewarding. And at the same time, being part of any type of practice, you also have patient complaints, and you have things to deal with, so I get to deal with those two in conjunction with my manager and my staff members. In terms of being an associate professor at the college, I get to do a variety of things, and that's sort of why I love the environment that I'm working in. So I started as an assistant clinical professor, so with that I'm able to teach a course. I teach it to the third-year students currently in pediatrics and special population. I also get to do some clinical research. Being a faculty member at SUNY, we're provided with time to develop ourselves, so part of that would be doing clinical research. Also, I serve as consultants for schools and various organizations in the city. And I'm also involved in the governance at the college, so in terms of where I've been spending most of my time is in the area of curriculum design, as well as on the admissions committee and meeting all the fresh faces that want to come to SUNY. Certainly Dr. Heath is sitting here, so I can't say anything negative. Not that I have anything to say negative, but we have a wonderful benefit package in terms of, because we have a big there's so many doctors that in some ways your schedule is more flexible. If you're not there, there's other doctors to see patients, and so you don't have to close up your clinic. Certainly, we have great health benefits, and you think about your retirement too. And that's something I think has been important to me. A few years ago, I received tenure, and tenure is, started off as a protection for academic freedom, which is more in terms of being able to teach in the classroom without having to worry about ramifications in terms of what you're teaching. However, certainly tenure has evolved in terms of, someone putting often at least 7 years of their life, committing to a certain location, committing to what you're doing in terms of your profession, and having that reflected back in terms of institution committing to you as an individual member of that college. So that's been very valuable. In the audience, how many of you, just to get a show of hands, how many of you are fourth years? Okay, third year students? Second year students? First year students? All right. I would say that there's two areas certainly some of you have already thought about but haven't. One is in the area of externship programs, and I think in terms of selecting externships, my advice would be that you want to choose an externship that supplements the curriculum that you have. Certainly if there's an area that's not offered as much clinical experience, you perhaps want to supplement that. And also I think each of us have our areas of strengths and weaknesses, and as well as interests. So I think externship programs should also be to supplement areas that you think you need to acquire more skills in before graduating. In terms of residency programs, for those of you who are thinking of them, who are not the fourth years, hopefully they've already decided and have been matched already, but residency program, we have about one out of three graduates choosing to do residency programs, so that's really high, much higher than the time that I graduated. And certainly you're going to have the specialty that you will want to do. But the other considerations for residency programs is certainly